I want to welcome everyone to Recordings and Disclaimers. It's not the most exciting topic in the world, I'll admit, but hopefully I can make it a little more interesting for you tonight. My name is Trish Blackwelder. I'll be your presenter tonight. I have two people that will be helping me as well, Marilyn Bennett and Bobby O'Connell. They are our co-hosts tonight, and they'll be monitoring the chat and helping alert me to your questions. Okay. Now, you heard before we started the recording tonight the disclaimer that we're using for our workshops these days. Any exchange of information on the web should receive a disclaimer, whether in a text or whether it's a text or it's a video. And using disclaimers does offer some advantages. If your club is posting videos specifically to social media, pay close attention to the benefits of including disclaimers in your posts. So what exactly is a disclaimer? Well, a disclaimer is generally any statement intended to specify or limit the scope of rights and obligations that are enforceable in a legally recognized relationship. Don't you just love legalese? A disclaimer is a statement in which a person says that they did not know about something or that they are not responsible for something, asserting that the company won't be held responsible for any inaccuracies. And a very common form of disclaimer is a warning label or signage like the ones that you always see about "do not try this at home." Why are disclaimers important? Well, a lot of folks will say, well, it's just a Toastmasters meeting or it's just a Toastmasters workshop. Do we really have to be worried about disclaimers? Well, there is a liability policy that's in play for Toastmaster events in general that does extend out to the clubs as well. And if someone in their speech or someone in a workshop makes a bold statement, that could come back to haunt you depending on how you position your postings. And that's why we're talking about disclaimers tonight. Toastmasters International has already been implementing for a number of years now a video release form that has to be completed at the region quarterfinals and any other events where recording can occur. So all the contestants in the international speech contest, should they advance beyond the district, will be required to complete a video release form in order to continue moving forward in the competition. This is something that not every contestant is aware of, and it's something that I encourage all of the club leaders out there to make sure that contestants are aware that as they continue to progress through the various levels of the contest, things like a video release will be expected of them, along with other things like written copies of their speech and so forth. But we'll stick to recordings and disclaimers for tonight. District 3, ever since it started doing video recordings, and especially now in light of having the YouTube channel and the podcast, District 3 also requests that every participant complete a media release, and the YouTube video release forms have to be obtained from the primary participants, and then they edit the videos to blur out participants from recordings where releases are not available. For example, we're doing contest management training via Zoom. Tom and I both have to sign a media release form. Every video that we ask to have posted on the YouTube channel has to have a video release form, and we're asked to obtain hard copies of release forms from our participants if they are displayed in the video. If not, then they're edited out by blurring their face. So, as you've probably noticed, if you've been attending those contest training events, we're getting more and more stringent about making sure all audio streams are turned off so that people's images don't keep popping in and out of the recording at random for them clearing their throat or tapping a keyboard or shuffling their hands on their desk or table. We try to do everything that we can now to keep the focus on the presenter, because the presenters are the ones that have submitted their media release forms. It's extra editing, but it's something to take under consideration if your club is really starting to push to have a stronger social media preference. Then you need to start thinking about what types of additional protections you need to put in place for your club. So what about club video posts? Well, if your club is intending to post meeting videos regularly to social media sites such as YouTube or Facebook, it's recommended to secure video release forms from all rostered members at minimum and maintain those as part of your club's record keeping. These release forms are generally good for 1 year at a time. So as you go through the renewals process, where you come up for an annual renewal with your members, you'd simply ask them to update their video release form. For guests and drop-ins to your meetings, it's beneficial to add an audible disclaimer statement during the opening of the meeting, but before the recording is started. That's the approach that we take when we're doing these workshops and our Showtime meetings, so that the guests or non-member participants have the opportunity to turn off their video stream before we actually start the recording. Zoom includes, by default, an audible and visible warning when the recording begins that participants must opt in to continue. Any participant that opts out, we've tested this, is removed from the meeting automatically by the Zoom software. So again, something to be aware of when you are the presenter. We read the disclaimer, we start the recording pops up something on the screen saying that the meeting is being recorded, and if you object, click now, and what that does is it actually removes you from the meeting. Recording and posting in speaker view mode is highly recommended, as it reduces the expanded exposure of the gallery views. The gallery views are kind of fun because you get to see everybody's faces, but they also are where the liability risk can come into play, because you have all of those faces and those names in some cases being presented on a screen. And if you don't have a physical release form from those people, if they change their mind somewhere down the road, it could become problematic for you. If using gallery view, then the burden is on you as the recorder to use video editing tools to blur participants where there is no release form on file. And I am not a video editor, so I'm working very hard to make sure that we use the proper disclaimers and that we record the proper views then, so that we don't have to get into too much video recording. So let me pause here and see what kinds of questions or conversations this topic has stimulated thus far.
Well, I was thinking it might be a good idea to add the video release form into a new club member's packet.
Mm-hmm.
So when they join, they'd have that. And then when you sign the release form, it's just for that club, right? if the district requires an event that you're attending requires one, can you already say that you already have signed one because they have no knowledge? So could you just forward that one that you've signed, or is it specific to the club?
That all depends. It's a fair question, and it all depends on the form that's being used. For example, Showtime implements a media release form, so that any club photos that we take, any recordings that we do, can be posted, and all club members have signed off to having their image used in them. All right. Our form may be unique to our club, and it would not necessarily be worded exactly the same way that the district would be using. So we can't hand our form over to the district and say this is good enough. The district has their own specific release form that they want signed. And so the person would have to, for a district event, would have to sign a release form with the district.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was wondering, in the contest, I think it was actually both of them that Gloria had asked about the judges for the humorous speech, being able to use a gallery view so that they could see the audience reaction. Would that be something that would complicate this?
Yes, because Zoom will record. Well, Zoom will record both a speaker-only view and a gallery view if you're using regular Zoom recording, okay? When we are doing presentations like this, where there are slides to be shown, you only get the speaker view, then you don't get a gallery view. So for the contests, we will be using presentations. So we should end up getting both a speaker view and a gallery view. But the longer we keep that gallery view turned on, the more likelihood we run into the risk of release forms. Tom and I have so many challenges we have to solve for. I picked a great year, didn't I?
I just think you volunteered.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Trish, are you requiring those release forms for contestants in the district speech contest?
Contestants will be required to complete a release form.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, especially at the district level, because we have to record in order to submit for the regional level. So we will absolutely have to require release forms. If we have to record at the area or division levels, which is not a requirement, by the way, but if we go down the road of allowing recording at the area and division levels, then you'll be involved with release forms again, just to protect the district. Okay.
Makes sense.
Hi, Cynthia.
My concern is, let's say I don't want to be recorded, but I should be able to put like just maybe my capital C up for that. But you're saying as soon as I don't agree, I get kicked out, right?
Yeah, when the recording starts, if you opt out of the Zoom prompt, then Zoom will kick you out of the meeting. It's nothing the host can control. Zoom does it automatically. Okay.
So they can't even attend.
Yeah, you won't even be able to attend. You'll be out of the meeting. So the better solution is to simply turn off your video stream, and then your image can't be recorded.
Right. Okay.
That or close your camera, either one.
Well, and with that, it's a case of use the rename and take your name out. I mean, if you don't want to be known at all.
Right. I've updated recording settings, I believe, in both accounts that we're using right now. where we no longer capture the names, to try to protect for that.
Okay.
Other thought provokers?
So just to be clear, if I just wanted a picture, let's say I have a picture of a horse, right, for my background, I would still go ahead and accept it because you're capturing the horse picture.
Right now, we're capturing you and your background.
Right now. But I'm saying if I said, I don't want you to see me, but
Then you have to turn off your video stream.
so turn it off. I couldn't just substitute another background.
You can. It's like in my account, my personal account, I have a picture of a blue stylized dragon that when I turn my video off, that's what pops up. So yeah, you can put a picture up there, but you still have to turn your video off or it sees you.
Right. Anytime you turn your video stream off or your camera off, then whatever image you've loaded into your Zoom profile, that's what gets displayed for you.
Okay.
It doesn't default to a background. It defaults to an image.
Okay.
So however you've loaded your Zoom profile, that's what's going to be displayed. Like when I turn my camera off, you get an image of me. I'm not opting out, so even though my camera's not on and my video stream has been stopped, you're still getting an image of me in the gallery.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So DJ just used the background for that?
No, it doesn't use the background by default.
No, but I mean, that's what she's putting it up right now, is a background image.
What I did was closed my camera
Mhm.
lens so it can't picture me and left my background on so that it's just a background. It's not me at all.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, discussions? Cynthia is being way too quiet.
That's because she's got a nice picture now of her. That's gorgeous, Cynthia.
Thank you, everyone. I'm trying out a different background in regards to getting some images. Trish, I know I came in late. The information in regards to storing these records on file, but you need to store them with each video recording these disclaimers and authorizations. And is that part of when a user accepts the video computer, it's stored with the settings?
You're pissing me off.
No.
Okay, Marilyn, mute yourself. You would want to keep the release forms on file. And the reason we're recommending that you would want to have all members of the club complete a release form is so that you would continue to use those release forms in support of every video. So whether it's a meeting or a workshop or whatever, if it's club hosted, then the club has the release form on file. Does that answer your question?
Okay.
Yeah. There
yes,
is There's also a disclaimer that you should post with each posting. So I just went through this weekend and double checked to make sure whether or not we had disclaimers with each of our video posts that we've been putting out there, and we don't. So I whipped up a disclosure and added it to the description area. It's the last thing in the description area on every video that's been posted out on Showtime's channel.
Okay.
It's posted on the channel, but somebody could land on a page and not go through the channel landing page, in which case they would not see the disclaimer. So that's why you have to add the disclaimer to each post.
My
Okay.
apologies to everyone. Zoe wants to settle down. So
I understand, but we don't need the.
no, I know
I'm more
that. I
concerned
thought I
about
was
the
muted.
recording.
I did think I was muted. I apologize.
Okay, moving on then. For example, I'll use Showtime. Showtime has now moved to a 100% online club. We will comply by establishing our visual and audio disclaimers as part of our opening and closing segments on our meeting agendas and on our workshop agendas, which we've been doing now for some time. The new functionary role has been added for Zoom Master, and the Zoom Master's role is to get the Zoom session opened and close it down, manage the recordings, and monitor for open mics and participant naming during the course of the meeting. So we make the announcement up front about how we want open mics handled and participant naming handled. And then once the recording starts, the Zoom Master will enforce that. We will have a pre and a post meeting audible disclaimer announcing what we expect participants to do going into the event, and then what we are promising as a post event in terms of replays and where to find them. Zoom audible disclaimers and server controls are something that we need to make sure all members are familiar with and know how to manage properly. And then the media release forms is a new thing. We do need to make sure that we're including all of that as part of the new member onboarding process, as I think Connie mentioned earlier. Okay, just to give you an idea, this has been developing over time. You see where we've added the Zoom Master role and a Zoom co-host role to our agenda. The co-host role is where the members that don't have as much experience with Zoom can serve as a co-host and still have a Zoom Master to rely on to help them if they get in a jam. The Zoom Master is a more experienced person with Zoom. And then you see excerpts of each of our disclaimer statements. We have one for our meeting, we have one for workshops, and then we have the post recording or the post disclaimer about what we do with the recordings and where you can find them. Okay. Comments or questions?
I just had a wild thought, and this is Cynthia being out in left field again. No one can control anyone that could scrape or copy an image that they saw, but it is up to us with due diligence to capture or state any cease and desist. But do we have anything stated on our pages that say, please, you are not allowed to copy without written copyright assisted information? Thank you, sorry.
No, it's a good point, but we don't have the money, resources, third-party applications that we could install to try to prevent downloading. We do have some Zoom controls that when we post, we can choose whether or not to allow videos, posted videos, to be embedded in other in other things on the web. And we do have the ability to accept or turn off comments, and our comments are turned off. We don't have time and resources to moderate all the comments and respond to questions. So we just don't even open that door. As far as embedding, I believe that we left that turned on so that if people wanted to share our posts, you know, they could, we wouldn't be preventing them from sharing the post. The idea was to get the word out about the club. So it's a double-edged sword, you know, as to how much you how far you open the floodgate. Something though that it's something that has to be discussed. So for any club that's going online, that's thinking, oh, well, this would be fun. We'll take pictures of what we're doing, like the early contest when all clubs were told to go virtual. The district had the contest where take a picture of your virtual, of your virtual space and post it, and you're in the contest. And none of that was done with release forms. So all of those pictures and images
Right.
were just snapped and, literally scraped out of a Zoom session and posted out on the district. A lot of clubs at the time didn't have names turned on. So you might have images, but you don't necessarily have names that go with them. When Showtime first started, we were doing just images. Then we started doing images and names. Then we turned the names off again. And now we're just, again, doing images. But technically what we should be doing is blurring out anyone that we don't have a release form on. So this is something that is club business. We have to take it before the club. Club needs to make a decision on how we are going to go forward with this. And getting the media releases from all of our members so that we just solve for that problem right up front.
One thing I have noticed too in
Okay. New subject, second question. Oh, go ahead.
Well,
Okay.
Go ahead, Marilyn.
Marilyn first.
one thing that I've noticed in different sites and platforms that I'm part of is that the minute you put up this content is not for sharing, or you can't, use part of it, or that is a red flag. People immediately start taking it. So it's anymore. I mean, it used to actually carry some weight. Now it's like a challenge. So I'm not sure I'm not sure it's the way to go.
Well, and a disclaimer is just that. It's a disclaimer. How much it legally protects you has a lot to do with how well it's written. And really the business that your site is in. We are a volunteer organization, part of Toastmasters International, and when I put the disclaimers up for the videos that we've posted, basically put the standard disclaimer about, these are Toastmasters members working on their communication and leadership skills. They don't speak for the club. All the opinions that you hear or information provided is specific to the speaker and not representative of the club. I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but I went out looking for disclaimers that were similar to what we were trying to accomplish and literally plagiarized, because that's what legal does all the time.
Okay.
Okay. Cynthia.
Okay. That was pretty much it. But then also, if a person wanted to practice their speech in regards to their business or product, they need to have some consideration in mind that somebody may look or take their product or whatever. But that was just a wild thought. I don't know. My brain took off on me again. Do continue though.
Well, and it's true. But I'll give you an example. At one time in my life, I had come up with a recipe book. And it was uniquely mine, all original recipes, all original work. And I didn't have the money for a lawyer, but I still put a copyright stamp on it. Okay. A company stole it from me anyway, and they made a ton of money off of it. And I didn't have the legal finance, I didn't have the financials to pay for a long, lengthy trial to try to establish that was my original work. So there's only so much you can do, but you have to be in a position where you can afford to fight something too. The disclaimer though is just like the sign that says don't try this at home. The average person will take that and respect it and move on. But the ones that are trying to, scrape and steal and then use it as their own, for monetization on their own, those are the ones that, it's like gun control. you know, the criminals are going to have guns no matter what the gun laws are, but the responsible citizen is going to handle the guns responsibly. So this, unfortunately, disclaimers are very similar to that. They're a nice to have. They can do a certain amount of protection for you, but in the end, if there's really something that gets messy about it, you have to be prepared for a longer battle, a long and financially draining battle. Sadly, but true. The thing that we need to bear in mind is that when it's specific to Toastmasters, while we do have the liability policy of Toastmasters standing behind every club, let's try to be responsible members, responsible leaders in the organization, and do what we can to avoid creating problems in the first place. Okay.
I would think that consistency of using the disclaimer would be important too in the event
Absolutely.
of some kind of a case.
Yeah, I always get a little nervous anytime that I think we're going to have to skip over one of the disclaimers now that we've got them in place, because that'll be the time that we have a problem. So.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so a lot of the disclaimers is talking about the visual and audio, but what about in the chat? What kind of protection is there for that? Because that stays when you record it, the chat is saved too, right?
Not always. Saving the chat is a feature within your Zoom configuration that has to be turned on. Only the host can save a chat. No one else can save it unless they screen scrape it. And that's not as easy as one would think. You can't just highlight the text and do a copy and paste. Okay, it absolutely is set up not to allow that to happen. So somebody would have to do a CAPTCHA, with a screenshot in order to get something that's being displayed on the chat, and then you have to get the chat to not be rolling while you're trying to do that. The account owner will get a copy of the chat, but I will tell you that those chat copies are inconsistent. I've gone back to try to find somebody's email address only to find that the chat didn't record the first 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or started recording and then stopped recording for some reason and picked it back up again. So they're not 100% accurate, at least not at the account level that we're supporting. They might be at the professional level, but not necessarily at the average user level.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're in a whole new world here. As technology continues to improve and detail, becomes so much easier to grab, then the considerations and recommendations and legal positions will all have to grow along with this technology. The important point is that if you're not doing anything, consider doing something to protect your members, to protect your guests, and to protect your club. Okay, anybody? All right then. Where did I find information? Well, I did have long conversations with Don Griffith, who handles our YouTube posts, about what he went through in terms of coming up with the disclaimers for the district. So he is a good source of information for you. There's some specific articles and sites devoted to YouTube disclaimers and how to draft them. That's at the top of the list here. There's a free privacy policy site too that will help you craft your disclaimers for free. And if you want to get really involved, then there's a cost associated with it, but some of the basic ones you can get for free. And then as we always remind you, you can come learn with us at Showtime Toastmasters Online. We are definitely going where most clubs have not gone before, and we are enjoying the adventure as we go along and the learnings that we're gathering along the way. So if you want to be part of breaking through this technology, come on over and become a member and join us on our adventure. At this point, I'm going to remind you that tonight's workshop replay will be posted to our Showtime YouTube channel this Friday at 12:15 a.m. Find us on YouTube using Showtime Toastmasters AZ. For more information about Showtime Toastmasters and other upcoming workshops, please visit us at showtime.toastmastersclubs.org. At this time, we're going to stop the recording for our open mic portion of the meeting.